Hello, welcome back to Crashing Sounds. My name is Chris, and today we're reviewing another album for you. I stress it's not a metal album this time, but it is another album. So hopefully you all enjoyed the Demons and Wizards review. That was the first review of this year, and we're hopefully going to pump it out more this year as we go. So we're going to keep releases coming. I'll try and keep it metal oriented or music that I'm interested in general, hence the context for this review in particular. If you are of if you're of English descent or if you have interest in English celebrity status, I guess, for want of a better phrase, you'll probably be familiar with British national treasure Mr. Stephen Fry. He's an intellect, author, actor, comedian, quiz show host, all the shebang, as it were. And a few years ago, he wrote a book called Mythos, which was all about the original Greek legends about the creation of the world, the gods, the original titans, and all of that. Yeah, it was a huge success. He's written another book following on called Heroes, which is all about the human heroes in early Greek mythology, and his third book, all about Troy, which will be fucking amazing, is coming out very soon. And, they were all massive successes and whatnot. He's done wave after wave of chat show, talk show tours all about them. But where I come in is just last week, the National Symphony Orchestra, which is a big establishment in the United Kingdom, performed after the composition of one Debbie Wiseman, is her name. They created an epic orchestral arrangement to go along with a couple of chapters and stories from his first book, Mythos, all about the gods and all of that. So this is not your typical metal review. Nothing metal about this whatsoever. It's all strictly classical music. But here at Crushing Sounds, I look specifically to heavy metal as my muse, my inspiration, my passion, as it were. But if I were to boil it down even further, my passion is music, obviously, and great music, as it were. Anything that inspires me that I can talk about is what I'll talk about here. And here I am with the first album, at least I hope it's the first of many albums that is inspired by Stephen Fry's literature. Mythos Suite is a series of classical orchestral pieces of music that are inspired by his first book, Mythos, but not just inspired. Half of the album is classical music over the top of his narration of these stories, and the other half are just pieces of music that are inspired by the stories themselves. So you've got a few things going on here, but first and foremost, this is a epic classical album. Nothing metal about this whatsoever. So if you're looking at me with the Cat Decapitation t-shirt for your latest heavy metal album to hear, that's not what this is. This is a album that I would recommend just for fans of the art form of music, as it were. So, Mythos Suite. It's various Greek stories that begins first and foremost with the creation of the world from the ancient Greek point of view. I remember just chatting to my dad like weeks ago that I love Greek myths and legends and whatnot, but I never knew what the Greek version of the beginning was. I knew about Zeus and Kronos and Poseidon and whatnot, but I didn't know what their actual beginning was. Here it is on this album, the story of chaos. It opens the album. It's Stephen Fry's beautiful voice just laying it all out there for you with intense, very, very intense musical orchestration to beautifully go along with his narration. And that's just the opening of the album, right? There are various stories throughout the album. I believe I'm just going to count now. There are 5 classic Greek stories throughout the album, and as each story is being told, there's orchestral music to accompany it, but there's also, between each story, classical music to play off the story that's just been told. I'll do the first one for an example. We got the story of chaos, which is the opener, which is how the world came to be, and you got this really brooding, punchy, powerful orchestral piece of music to complement it. But the second track, Tempest, the music of chaos, is mostly exactly the same, but not the whole song that just came before. For example, the opening is 4 minutes and 22 seconds long, and the follow-up, Tempest, Music of Chaos, is 3 minutes 46 seconds long. So it gives you the feel and the vibe of the track that just came before it, but not played to its entirety, because that would be kind of pointless at that point. A better example would be track 3, the story of Rhea, is 11 minutes and 58 seconds, filled with music, but the follow-up is the music idea from that track that's only 3 minutes 24. It's hard to describe while I'm chatting about it, but if you hear the album, you know what I mean. But if you love literature, or if you love mythology, then you'll probably love this. It covers quite the more fundamental Greek stories and mythology. I was quite a big Greek mythology fan when I was about 14 or 15 or something. I haven't read the book that Stephen Fry is reading off here. I do own the sequel, but I haven't read it yet. But I haven't read this one, but I really want to, off the back of this, because it's really, really good. Stephen Fry's got that voice, you know. It's just so fucking good. But to put that with epic orchestral music, it's perfect. It just works. I think of the 5 or 6 stories on this album, being a fan of the subject in question, I knew all of them except one. But that one ended up being probably my favourite on the album. It's the story of Apollo and Macias, which Macias is a human being that discovered by way of accident a flute that was played by the gods, and he played it and was incredible at it, and he was so, in a drunken night of arrogance, claimed he could play it better than any of the gods, and then Apollo said, "Play it better than I can play the harp." And the song so brilliantly has, because it's a full orchestra, but it will drop down to just a lute, and then just a flute, and then just a lute again. It's so cool. It's really good. It's musical storytelling is what it is. It's what I love about music. It's music to tell a story, but you've also got the greatest voice alive today in British art. Just what's not to love? It's I was hesitant at first to talk about this album because it's not a heavy metal album, but fuck it, it's my channel. I can talk about what the hell I like. It's brilliant. It's classical music, doing what classical music should do to tell a story. Yeah, there's spoken word to help tell that story, but in this day and age, I don't see anything wrong with helping people just understand that classical music just a little bit better. The album is an hour and 10 minutes, but at no point did I feel like I needed to skip it or felt like it was going on too long. It's just brilliant. It's so good. The second story is the story of Rhea, which is all about her and her husband Kronos, which is just the most epic story about a titan being toppled from his throne that I've ever heard ever. I really, really wish the follow-on was about Zeus taking him down, but who knows, maybe in a follow-up album we'll get that. And the final track is about Sisyphus, who had to carry the stone up the hill to just see it tumble and then carry it all the way back up. What a perfect story to end an epic album. It's so good. I love this. It's absolutely brilliant. It's literature meets music, and that's perfect to my eyes. It's my ears rather. But I've made an effort lately to read more or learn, read a lot of more literature. I'm still reading the second Wheel of Time book, as watchers of my Blind Guardian review will know. I'm still battling that behemoth of a book. But since then, I've finished Fellowship of the Ring. Since then, I've just started Discworld, and I do keep books lying around just so I can read them. But I want to read more literature, and it's albums like this that make me really annoyed that audiobooks are as boring as they are. They just are. I'm listening to the audiobook of the second Wheel of Time book, but if they had music like this in the background, I'd be listening to them 24/7. But it's just a man speaking, which can be great, but music is even greater than language. And you can put that on my biography. Music is greater than language. It's so good. If you want brilliantly orchestrated music with brilliantly written stories, check out Mythos Suite by Stephen Fry and Debbie Wiseman. You will lose yourself in it, or your money back. It's so good. So thank you very much for this extremely rambling review. I just literally knocked this out now because I was so passionate about this thing. But yeah, hope I've inspired you to hear it. Go listen to it. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, all of that. Just go listen to it. It's so good. I'll see you all next time for a more metal review, I'm sure. See you around.